Hello everyone, and welcome to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. My name is ATR, and today we're going to have ourselves a 1v1 in Crossing in the Woods. Our heroes today are going to be darkerdayzud. Darkerdayzud. Yeah, darkerdayzud. Playing as the OKW in the blue. And his opponent in the red is going to be none other than RedxWings. PSG RedxWings. Playing as the Soviets of the Red Army. Now, this is a, well, not special match, I should say, but an interesting match. Especially for our blue player, Mr. Darker Days. I'll just call him Darker Days or Darker for short, because he is, well, he's ranked around the 500s for his OKW play, so, you know, he's okay. He's not the best, but, you know, he's middle of the road there. But he got matched up against RedxWings, who is, at the time of casting this, ranked number 33 for his Soviet play. So Darker Days here has a very uphill battle, so it should be interesting to see if he can pull it off. And that's about it. So anyways, in the game we have Darker Days going for Volksgrenadiers, pretty standard, has one Storm Pio out, going for the Combat Engineers over on the right-hand side, managing to push them off of the fuel, and they're going to capture the fuel for themselves. Not going to be pushing or doing any cheeky tactics, no Kubels this time, and the half-track is back at base. And for Mr. RedxWings, he is going for Tier 1, which I think the last time we saw him he was doing that. I don't remember. I kind of want to think that he did, but I am not too certain. But, well, regardless, he went for Tier 1, opening up with a second Combat Engineer squad, and then following it up with Penal Battalions, and we have the second Penal Battalion coming out onto the field right now. We also do see that Mr. Darker Days has selected his Doctrine, and that is the Luftwaffe Ground Forces Doctrine, which gives him that nice MG34. Hasn't called in one just yet, because obviously he needs one command point, but I would assume he will be putting those into play ASAP. So far, we see that Darker Days is just focusing everything on the right-hand side, keeping his Volksgrens and Storm Pies together. Does reduce his capabilities of capturing the map, but it does give him a strong force that will pretty much beat anything that it runs into. Only possibilities if it ran into a Maxim machine gun, but, well, from our point of view, we know that he went Tier 1, and Darker Days now knows that he went Tier 1 since he sees the Penal Battalion down south, so he doesn't have any Maxim machine guns to worry about. Third Penal Battalion getting brought onto the field for Mr. RedxWings. First Penal Battalion forced off of the field. The Volksgrens holding the line quite successfully, only losing one of their men. Reinforcements come in the way of a Volksgren squad and Storm Pilot squad, and they quickly force away the other squad. One victory point or command point has been acquired for Mr. Darker Days, and he calls in a MG34. With that, he should be able to lock down some territories. Penal Battalion, I mean, it does have the satchel charge, so it is a threat to the MG, but seems a little bit too much, but we'll see. Up in the north, Penal Battalion and Volksgren squad duking it out at pretty close ranges. The Penal Battalion managing to inflict a lot of damage there on the Volksgren squad at the close range, and does force the retreat. Center map, we have a big engagement. Penal Battalions and Combat Engineers trying to hold off the line. Flamethrower getting upgraded on Penal Battalion in the center. However, the Volksgrens are keeping their range at which they excel against the Penal Battalions. Although, I guess a little bit more evenly matched. But, well, there's more squads here for the OKW. And the Combat Engineer squad is forced to peace out and move over to the right-hand side. Left-hand side, we see a Combat Engineer squad for RedxWings just capturing everything and starting to lay down some mines in this territory. So far, we see no effort whatsoever for Darker Days to control or send any units to the left-hand side of the map. He is trying to focus on the right-hand side. Currently, we have 2 units on the northern right-hand side for RedxWings, that being a Penal Battalion and a double Penal Battalion. He is currently up to 4 Penal Battalions on the field with those 2 Combat Engineers. Personally, obviously, I'm bad, but I personally would throw in a conscript squad in there at the beginning, maybe, just to have the ability to merge and maybe use the potential of the increased firepower of the SVT rifles there, but maybe it's not worth it, and it's fine to just go all Penal Battalions. So anyways, Right hand side, we see a big push. We see Shreks getting upgraded on the Volkswagens a little bit preemptively. I mean, obviously Tier 1 is in play, and a Scout car can come out at any time, so it's not a bad decision whatsoever, but obviously from our point, we see that it is not necessary, and he could have held on those munitions and continue to have maximum amount of anti-infantry firepower on those Volkswagens. Right-hand side, Storm Pilots running into two Penal Battalions, forced to retreat. They do lose one of their men on the retreat. Back at base, we have the Battle Group Headquarters online for Darker Days, and he will be able to heal up his troops. Truck coming out onto the field. More Volkswagen squads getting produced. 4 Volkswagen squad on the field. 2 MG-34s on the field as well. 1 covering the right-hand side. The Penal Battalions are far off at range and able to hold off. The MG-34 could move up a little bit to support, but it is set up in the heavy cover to be able to withstand any advance. Center map, the MG-34 is forced away as the Penal Battalions are getting a lot of damage in there. More mines getting laid down all over the place for RedxWings, and on the right-hand side, we see the Volkswagens were forced to retreat to the might of 2 Penal Battalions. 1 Penal Battalion took quite a beating, down to 5 men, but less than half health. Do we have medics back at base? Yes, we do for RedxWings, so he does in fact retreat to get those guys healed up and not lose any unnecessary manpower. Penal Battalion holding the field on the right-hand side. 2nd Penal Battalion coming in for a flank on the MG. However, it runs into a big force of Volks Grenadiers. The MG-34 still holding the line, making sure that nothing comes up in front of it for a flank. Grenade does go off on the Penal Battalion, getting a lot of damage there on the guys in cover. Flamethrower burst does go off on the Volkswagen squad. Manages to catch one of the members on fire, and the Penal Battalion is forced to get out. 2nd Penal Battalion coming into the fight. Original one was already forced off of the field, and the MG-34 is holding the line, manages to catch the Penal Battalion on the right-hand side as it came in for the flank, and it is now currently suppressed. Center Penal Battalion forced to retreat, as the one on the right-hand side is forced to retreat as well, and Darker Days manages to stave off that flank by not turning his MG, whether that was carelessness by his part of not moving it, just setting it up and leave it in position, or anticipating a flank. We shall never know. 2nd MG-34 setting up in the center of the map by that tank trap covering the center. We do see that a Storm Pio actually got hit by a mine. The 3 remaining members of the squad are now duking it out against the Penal Battalion with the flamethrower. They take a lot of damage and are forced to backpedal. Center point is disconnected, or not disconnected, decaptured. And the Penal Battalion moves in to engage. Another Shrek gets upgraded right in front of the Penal Battalion as the Volkswagens come into the play. Once again, we see that it wasn't necessary, but it is, you know, I suppose I suppose it's a habit for Darker Days of getting those Shreks, you know, relatively early. Jaeger Light Infantry are called into the field. No, wait, Fallschirm Jaegers. Yeah, this is wrong Doctrine and wrong unit. Fallschirm Jaegers called into the troop. These guys can spawn behind the lines, you know, just like the other ones inside buildings and such. So they are already out on the field, and those are equipped with the FG-42 light machine guns. And yes, thank you for making it obvious for me that I was being ridiculously stupid on the last 2 times these units came out. I was saying, I forget what the rifle is called. It's awesome. It's a paratrooper rifle with the side mag and everything, and it's right there. FG-42 light machine guns. Jesus. Oh man. Well, anyways, but yeah, with those, they're going to be able to provide a lot of fire support here to those Volkswagens, and Volkswagens with Shreks as well, since they have reduced firepower. A lot of damage does go down on the Penal Battalions, forcing the retreat down to 1 man on one of those squads and barely makes it out. But we now see that RedxWings has teched up straight to Tier 4 and is now getting himself an Su-76. That is a beautiful play by him. I approve. I like. I say yes. We'll do business again. Whatever you want to say here, but I mean, Su-76 are underused, and they are quite excellent, quite versatile. I like them. They can take a hit. They're glass cannons essentially, but man, are they awesome. Anyways, Combat Engineer Squad in the center, forced to retreat. Even the half-track gets brought into the fight and kind of pushes them a little bit. Volkswagen Squad down south, recapturing territory. And again, we see that Darker Days is not making any effort whatsoever to send anything to the left-hand side. And as I say that, he finally sends a Volkswagen Squad to the left-hand side to try to recover some territory. Over on the left-hand side, Combat Engineers with Sweepers just watching the zone. Penal Battalions pushing forward, all of them getting equipped with flamethrowers, so that's a lot of nasty firepower coming in. Su-76 on the field, start taking some shots at those Fallschirm Jaegers. The Fallschirm Jaegers backing off a little bit. The main gun isn't really a threat to the infantry. Yes, it will get kills every now and then, but the main threat to the infantry comes in the form of that artillery barrage that nails the MG-34. MG-34 are going to be forced to displace. No, it stays on the fight. Second shot flies a little bit wide. Oh, on target. Boom, gets another hit. Down to 2 men on that. And the half-track gets brought up. MG-34 is forced to retreat, barely makes it out of there. And the half-track GTFOs a little bit. Right-hand side, we see a penal battalion getting a little bit too ballsy, too forward, and gets itself eliminated as the Su-76 threw its barrage. Volkskrans and all the infantry are forced to retreat. The victory is won here for the Soviets in the center, but they did end up losing one of their penal battalions. Second Su-76 getting built by Mr. RedxWings. That is now very ballsy. Su-76 pushes up, gets the shot off on that half-track. The half-track will try to get out of the way, but it will die. There's really nothing they can do, and here comes the Raketenwerfer. It takes a shot, nails the Su-76 in the face, but it manages to get itself out of the way, and at about half health. Raketenwerfer pushing back, and it'll be alive. I mean, it can retreat if it wanted to, which is the awesome thing about this little unit. Volkskrans squad with its Shreks. The Shreks are now going to be coming into play quite usefully, or I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but considering that there's vehicles now in play, those Shreks will be quite dangerous. Penal Battalion flamethrower continues to go off. More Volkskrans and the Fallschirmjägers getting brought into the mix. Fallschirmjägers. Oh, a nice barrage there by the Su-76, nailing the Volkskrans. Second barrage goes off, nails another man. 1 man left on that squad, forced to retreat. 2 men left on the Fallschirmjäger squad, and everybody retreats out of the way and make it out of there. Far left-hand side, the Volkskrans squad did go for the cap of the fuel point. We'll be able to recover that. MG-34 is covering the whole approach. It makes it so that nobody can cross through here because this little ridge is unpassable by infantry, so they are within that firing range. Cut that off. Left-hand side, Su-76 running into the Volkskrans squad, takes a nice barrage to their face. Down to 2 men and forces a retreat. They could have potentially actually stayed there. They had already moved out of the arc of fire. And again, the main gun isn't very good, but it was a little bit of a risky maneuver that I suppose he didn't want to do. Volkskrans squad moving up, actually getting itself in range of that Su-76. Shrek goes off, nails it. The Raketenwerfer sets up, but it is not in range. Nope. Does not manage to set up in time. Could actually turn itself once again. Now it's in range. Can take a shot. No, it decides to take a shot at the infantry instead. Right-hand side, we see a barrage going off. No, actually just standard shots going off into the infantry. More Volkskrans pushing forward. Mines are in the way, so it's a risky maneuver. Second shot flies from the Shrek. Nails the Su-76, forces it to back off even further. Still 4 men, 3 men now only left on that Volkskrans squad. They are in a lot of trouble. Oh, a Shrek flies, but it misses the Su-76 as it dodges back out of the way. The Volkskrans squad in the center does end up retreating. Second squad still in pursuit. We have oh, down goes one Su-76 to the Shrek. They end up retreating, and the second one is all the way back at base. Very low amounts of health. The Volkskrans squad is in pursuit. However, there's a penal battalion in the way with a flamethrower, as a combat engineer squad is also brought into the mix. Volkskrans squad decides to retreat, as it does see a mass of infantry here. We have 3 penal battalions altogether pushing forward. That is a lot of flames, a lot of SVT rifles, and a lot of damage. MG-34 on the right-hand side, pushing once again to set up the cover of that approach. And we do still have the MG-34 in the center. It manages to stop the penal battalions from approaching. One of them gets suppressed, 2 of them, in fact, and they crawl out of the arc of fire. Su-76, not fully repaired, still at about 75%. Decides to ignore the repairs and push forward to get in range of the MG. Decides to actually not barrage the MG-34 and instead barrages the Fallschirmjägers. The Fallschirmjägers are taking that like champs. Shot flies from the Raketenwerfer, nails the Su-76. Second shot flies. Oh, it misses. It actually impacts the ground in front of it, and the Su-76 lives. Another Su-76 getting built by RedxWings. We see Volkskrans pushing on the flank, getting themselves into the shack or next to the shack. Are they going to get in, or they're just standing there? They're just standing there. Su-76 in a lot of trouble. We see penal battalions retreating from the center as they're getting stopped by the... Oh, we see a nice flank in here by penal battalions. One penal battalion getting eliminated. Second one flanking and getting itself past the arc of fire of that MG-34. However, they are in a lot of trouble. They are forced to retreat down to 4 men. Fallschirmjägers with their FG-42 light machine gun doing a lot of damage. but it makes it out of there. Up in the north, the Volksgren squads do end up having to retreat as the Su-76 does not die, and they get stuck by the base sector MG. The Su-76 getting repaired back at base, and the other one is now brought back into the field. So RedxWings taking quite a beating here. He has lost some penal battalions. He's now down to 3, and he lost an Su-76 as well. Was forced to replace it. But victory points, I mean, it's almost, well, I mean, not even, but pretty close. 449 to 402, so pretty much a 50-point lead that can turn at any time, so it's not too indicative of who's in the lead. Center map, Fallschirmjägers and Storm Pios pushing forward, running into the penal battalion. Flamethrower burst does go off and incinerates one of the Storm Pios. More shots continue to fly. The penal battalion in the center, down to 3 men, forces the retreat. Storm Pios trying to get some shots off, but they do not manage to connect. And Shreks fly from the center as the Volksgrens nail the Su-76 down to about 30% strength, forced to back off once again. We do have the one in the base, oops, excuse me, back to full strength. And nothing really else being built here. We do see a Juer Panzer headquarters set up just to cover the front of the base. Not really too far up there. I mean, it is a smart maneuver as there are Su-76 on the field, but it will provide some cover from the flank. I mean, let's see, what's the range? Yeah, I mean, there's still a little gap here in the hedge, which infantry can walk through, but for the most part, it covers the rear quite effectively. Fallschirmjägers getting called in on the left-hand side to capture that fuel. We do have a combat engineer squad laying down more mines all over the place. And we see the Dushka 34 heavy machine gun on the field as RedxWings decides to go for the... Wait, is that the... Oh yeah, I was thinking it was the... Yeah, it's the Lend-Lease tactics. Oh, I had completely forgotten that the Lend-Lease tactics had the Dushka. I kept thinking it was only the defensive one. Anyways. Right-hand side, Penal Battalion does manage to get a nice flank there on that MG-34, forces it to retreat and opens the right-hand side flank to get captured, especially the victory point. We do see Volksgrens and Fallschirmjägers pushing over to the right-hand side. Fallschirmjägers on the left are going to capture that fuel point without much of a problem. And we have the Raketenwerfer and the MG-34 covering the center. Su-76 moving up to engage the infantry. It does have only the ability to shoot its barrage, really. Oh, a nice shot nailing 2 of them. Second shot flies, forces the retreat of the Fallschirmjägers. The Volksgrens push up, get a barrage off. No, they don't actually. Wow. Su-76 manages to move out of the way, and the flamethrower from the Penal Battalion forces the retreat as it instills flames or fear in their eyes. Volksgrens and Storm Pios in the center, managing to get a nice flank there on that heavy machine gun. Grenade flies, kills 2 of the men, and the heavy machine gun retreats, so it will stay in the hands of RedxWings. And more Penal Battalions continue to be built for RedxWings as he wants to continue to have those as his mainline units. Penal Battalion on the right-hand side is forced to retreat finally by the Storm Pios and the Volksgrens. They will go to recapture that victory point, and we have Fallschirmjägers trying to capture the victory point on the left-hand side, but not quite stepping into the zone until now. Excuse me. So now we just see Darker Days. I mean, doing a pretty good job here, staying alive. Having a much bigger infantry force than Mr. RedxWings. Trying to capture the rest of the map. Right-hand side, Storm Pio squad does run into a Penal Battalion with a flamethrower. They try to close the distance to get as much damage as possible with their assault rifles. Managing to inflict quite a bit of damage. Down to 2 men on that Penal Battalion, forces the retreat. They stand the flames, they stand in the fire. They bring it down to 1 man and almost take it out by themselves. Left-hand side, the Volksgren squad doesn't really stand a chance as the heavy machine gun does manage to get suppressed, and 2 Penal Battalions against 1 Volksgren squad is always going to end up badly. Fallschirmjägers on the left, trying to stop the approaching Penal Battalion, managing to inflict a lot of damage as they close in. That FG-42 is just a beast of a LMG. It does so much damage. Down to 3 men on that Penal Battalion. The heavy machine gun does get brought into the mix. getting them suppressed and forcing them to crawl out of the way. The flamethrower also inflicting its damage, and they end up having to retreat. SU-76 getting a barrage off in the center as the MG-34 is forced to retreat. Raketentwerfer getting brought up to get some shots off into the center. We do have both SU-76 doing a decent job there at barraging. Nice hit there by the Raketentwerfer, but the SU-76 will make it out. The Volkskrans are trying to pursue. Oh, a very nice shot there by the main gun of the SU-76. Nails the Volkskrans squad, killing 2 members with 1 shot, forcing the retreat of that and keeping them alive. Volkskrans squad barely skids by one of the mines, and we have a Panther on the field for Darker Days. An interesting choice. Again, managing to dodge mines left and right without even noticing. Heavy machine gun really not standing much of a choice. There's another mine around there. And there should be another mine over here, so... yeah, that Panther and those Volkskrans just managing to not step on the mines miraculously. Right-hand side, penal battalions. Ooh, an MG-34 fell. Ooh, that is very bad news there for Darker Days. So he loses the right-hand side flank. Combat engineers are capturing, and the MG-34 is being turned against them. Sherman being brought into the mix. We do have a Panther on the field for Darker Days, so he should be able to deal with that Sherman quite effectively, especially with the new and improved frontal armor of the Panthers. Penal Battalion on the right-hand side, forced to retreat to the Fallschirmjägers. These Fallschirmjägers are veterancy 3. We do know that, obviously, veterancy 5 is the maximum that can be acquired for the OKW troops, but these guys are already 3, so... let's see. Frangible Smoke Grenade. Reduces the unit... the chance for the unit to be hit by enemy fire and allow the unit to hide when in cover. Nice. Heals themselves over time when out of combat. Oh, very nice. Combat Engineer Squad in a bit of a pickle there. Not in too much danger, as the Panther isn't really designed against infantry, but it'll slowly whittle them down. Nice side shot there on the Su-76. Manages to get some damage in there. Another shot flies. Shrek. No, the Shrek doesn't fly, and the Su-76 make it out of there alive. The Sherman is going to be behind the Panther, although the Panther is actually behind the Sherman, deciding to focus on the Sherman instead. Heavy machine gun does go down in the center. Oh my god, a crush there by the Sherman. Actually eliminates the entire squad of Volksgrenadiers, crushing it between its threats. Although, no, it looks like one man made it out of there alive. Jeez. But the Sherman does end up losing its engine, and the Panther is looking at it. The Su-76 are getting some shots off at a distance. They are capable of inflicting damage there, but oh no, if Darker Days has pushed a little bit forward, he may have actually killed at least one of the Su-76 and hinder RedxWings' ability to fight even further. But I suppose it was a little bit of a risk. He didn't want to risk that. He was down to about half health on his Panther, so he's going to back off and repair. Does he have the other? No, he does not have the Mechanized Regiment headquarters on the field, so that won't help. Healing stuff getting called in? What got called in? Yeah, it's the medical supplies. Fuel. Oh, fuel. Okay, never mind. Is that what it does? I forgot. Wow, I haven't actually seen this. Allied supply drop. Cargo plane, fuel target location. Varying amount of based on availability. The cargo planes have the moment. Oh, okay. So yeah, so basically you just convert munitions to fuel, right? Okay. Right hand side, Fallschirmjäger squad acquiring their veterancy 4. It improves the weapon accuracy, making them even more deadly. Grenade does fly at the mine, manages to detonate it, and makes Mr. RedxWings lose the munitions. Volkskrans on the left-hand side, pushing all of them together with their Shreks. Doing a lot of damage there on that penal battalion. Shreks flying as well, destroying barbed wire in the process. Su-76 brought into the mix, gonna throw a barrage right in the center of those Volkskrans. Oh, a nice hit. Nailing 2 of them only. It would have been a little bit better, but the Su-76 decides to break the target as the Panther is barreling down on top of it and trying to hunt it down. Panther is in a little bit of a risk here as it is running through mines. It's going to run into that mine. Boom, there it goes. Runs into that mine. Heavy engine damage. The Panther is in a lot of trouble. The Su-76 should be able to potentially pepper it at range, but we do have storm pios nearby. We also see an airborne assault getting called in onto this field. We see shots flying all over the place, just covering, and that will drop a Fallschirmjäger squad at the end. Why he called that in, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, he could have just called in a Fallschirmjäger squad into this house instead and had the same effect, but I suppose he wanted to cover his Panther, not having it be lost to anything stupid, potentially. So the Fallschirmjäger squad is going to be capturing the point. Raketenwerfer gets pulled up and is going to take a shot at that Su-76. No, it's actually not in range. Su-76 should be able to return fire as it brings itself into range. Raketenwerfer takes a shot. Boom! Nails the Su-76. Down to about half health, but it may actually end up losing itself. Yeah, there goes the Raketenwerfer as it gets burned alive by the penal battalions. Fallschirmjägers pushing up to engage the penal battalions, but once again they get pretty much annihilated there by the thing. A sneaky tactic here by Mr. RedxWings. He is throwing a barrage right onto the Panther across the hedge, not managing to hit with the first two shots. Oh, as it hits the house in front of it, does end up collapsing the house. But the Storm Pio squad does end up taking a nasty hit as the Panther absorbs the shot directly. Panther now focusing on the Su-76. The Su-76 returning fire. Panther turning its frontal armor to the Su-76 will be able to withstand a lot of shots from that. Sherman getting brought up again, bouncing off the frontal armor as the Panther has not much to worry about from those shots as long as it's facing forward. Panther decides to back off from this engagement and head back home. MG-34 covering on the left-hand side. It does still have two Su-76 to worry about, so it's not an easy thing. 385 points for Mr. Darker Days and 267 for RedxWings. So he has gained himself over a 100-point lead, so it's a nice spot to be in. Still has a way to go, though. Volkswagens are ridiculously veteran. We have three fives, and a 2. And Fallschirmjäger squads, we have only one of them veteran, but already veteran C4, which is pretty great. 32 kills to the name of that Fallschirmjäger squad. That is a beastly squad. Sherman moving up to the right-hand side, trying to take some shots at the infantry. Not managing to do much, but the heavy machine gun does manage to get the Fallschirmjäger squad pinned down. The Volkswagen squad moves out of the way and stops the cap from going, so the Fallschirmjägers need to move. The Volkswagens are in range to get a flank, and they've actually put themselves past the arc of fire. One of the members move in, but the Sherman is covering nasty barrages right there on the choke point. The Volkswagen squad is forced to retreat. Can it actually make it out? Looks like it will, just barely, but it will. More squads getting brought into the arc of fire of the heavy machine guns just to get themselves suppressed. Fallschirmjägers have to get out of the fight since they are no longer effective. And the Volkswagen squad is just getting annihilated here in the center by the penal battalion. It needs to get the hell out of there or it will be lost. Panther pushes forward, gets right on top of that Sherman and the Su-76, going to be taking the shots to the face. And we see that the Volkswagen squad on the right-hand side did end up dying, which is very unfortunate there for Darker Days. An unnecessary loss. And the heavy machine gun makes it out of there. Oh, actually it doesn't. There it goes, it dies. Volkswagen squad going to go for the steal. Yes, they do. Heavy machine gun needs to retreat right away, otherwise it may actually lose itself because it is down very low amounts of health, the weapon itself. Panther pushes back a little bit after taking some damage. The Storm Pios move in. And on the left-hand side, we see Volkswagen squads retreating with Fallschirmjägers for support as a penal battalion gets in its way. Heavy machine gun, or MG-34 also, part of the problem there. Su-76 barrage goes off into a bit of a choke there, but not hitting too much. Su-76 back at base. That Su-76 is now veteran C3. At veteran C1, it gets tracking, then it gets damage, output, and accuracy. And then it gets a more rate of fire and increased sight, I think, or aiming. I don't know. Like the cooldown on it, I suppose, goes down. Panther moving across in the center. Penal battalion trying to recapture the point. Left-hand side, Fallschirmjäger squad does get itself veteran C5 at veteran C5. Increases the range of the weapon and the accuracy. Panther gonna try to dislodge that MG34. We see Su-76 taking some shots at a distance. Managing to hit the Panther on the side. The Panther turns its sights and is now gonna tank it forward. Panther gonna take a shot at the Sherman. Sherman takes a nasty shot in the frontal armor. And the Panther's just sitting there very easily, taking the damage. Second shot flies from to the Sherman. Does a lot of damage. Shot misses. And the Su-76 holds the line. More infantry pushing forward. Fallschirmjäger's not going to be able to provide too much support, but we do have a veteran C5 Volksgren squad. And center map, Raketenwerfer and the MG34 trying to hold the approach of a Penal Battalion. Penal Battalion gets itself suppressed. And on the far right-hand side, we have a Fallschirmjäger squad engaging Penals with the support of a Storm Pyro squad, which isn't really supporting. Panthers does need a little bit of repairs. We only have one Storm Pyro squad, which is on the far right-hand side. Penal Battalion in the center does get forced to retreat. Artillery barrage goes off onto the Raketenwerfer and the MG34. Not managing to hit too much. It's a little bit spread out there considering it's at max range. But it may be able to hit something. Center map, we see Fallschirmjäger squad getting eliminated to the flames. The Penal Battalion inflicting a lot of damage. All of them are veteran C3, so those are very strong Penal Battalions. Penal Battalions, they get tripwires and they get URA, which is pretty great on Penal Battalions. And we'll check in a second what else. Another Sherman getting brought onto the field as one of the Shermans, the other Sherman ended up going down. The Panther just being quite beastly. Oh no! It loses its gun and gets itself killed to the Su-76. Su-76 do have a lot of range, and that's pretty potent. Like I said, that's why I like it. I mean, I know it can't take any damage, but it's, you know, essentially a mobile AT gun and with the ability to barrage for free, so why wouldn't you want it? So Sherman is now king of the field here. We do have another Panther on the field, however, for Darker Days. It's over on the far right-hand side. Getting repaired right now by the Storm Pyos. So Darker Days is not in horrible shape. In fact, he does still have the superior infantry force and has actually stolen a heavy machine gun. Heavy machine gun, however, is nowhere to be seen. Where is it, in fact? It is... there it goes. Barely moving over to the right-hand side. Volksgren squad on the left-hand side, running into a lot of Penal Battalions, forced to retreat. Volksgren and Fallschirmjägers pushing together into the center. They run into the flames of the Penal Battalions, taking a lot of damage. Shreks do fly off at the Sherman, doing significant damage to them, and the Fallschirmjägers are trying to chase down the Sherman. I mean, they do have the ability to Faust, so I believe that is, you know, a legitimate reason to do it, but they are running all the way up to the base. It's a veteran C5 squad. It's going to get itself killed. This is unnecessary for Darker Days, and he loses one of his most valued squads out there. Yeah, he may be collapsing there a little bit under the pressure here. He is currently in the lead, so he has no reason to do that, but yeah, losing that Fallschirmjäger squad was completely unnecessary. Even if it had Fausted, wasn't going to do anything with it. Panther coming in for a flank on the Su-76, managing to inflict a lot of damage on the first one. He is going to get shot in the process. Sherman getting some shots off in the rear. Needs to finish off that. Oh, it doesn't finish it off. Oh no. Now the Panther is in a lot of trouble. It's taking a lot of damage into the frontal armor. It's trying to make its way back, but it is taking substantial damage. The Sherman as well is taking a lot of damage. It notices that it is not going to be able to finish the fight and decides to disengage and get its way back home. Storm Pyro squad is in the center, moving over to the right-hand side to try to get repairs going on that Panther. And in the center map, we do still have the Raketenwerfer and the MG34 trying to cover the center of the map. Penal Battalion going to be capturing that center point. It does get itself... Actually, it's not even suppressed. It's in cover. There it goes. Finally gets suppressed. Su-76 barrages do go off into the center. The Raketenwerfer moving out of the way. MG34 taking a nasty direct shot, forced to retreat as well. And the center point is conceded there by Darker Days. Panther on the right-hand side getting repaired at about half strength. We do have one Su-76 at full. And the Sherman almost back to full strength. Su-76 at about 25% strength, moving back out. Artillery barrage going off into this hedge. I mean, I guess he may be anticipating Volkswagen's trying to move in this direction to get jump on his vehicles, maybe? I don't know. Weird decision there. Fallschirmjäger squad on the left-hand side, acquiring veterancy 1, trying to follow in the footsteps of their fallen brethren. Doing as much as they can, but they're taking quite a bit of punishment there in the front. A nice bundle grenade does go off onto the penal battalion, forces the retreat of it, gets brought down to 2 men. And the Fallschirmjäger squad ends up dying as it stays in the fight a little bit too long. Darker Days just falling to the pressure, not able to hold strong. He needs to stop making those mistakes. The infantry forces have pretty much equalized at this point, and those penal battalions are veterancy 3 with flamethrowers, and that's 4 of them, which is quite a thing to have to deal with. Penal battalions on the left-hand side now engaging the Panther. Panther doing the bulk of its damage with the MGs and the coaxial guns because the main gun is not really doing too much. Volkswagen squad pushing forward, getting near the range of the SU-76. Does manage to get itself behind the heavy machine gun. The heavy machine gun will get naded. There goes a grenade. Does a lot of damage. 3 kills in that 1 grenade. Storm Pyos coming in to close the distance. The heavy machine gun will be forced to retreat. Won't fall. Pretty sure it'll make it out of there alive. Down to 2 men. Makes it out of there just fine. SU-76 get brought up and are going to start bombarding the Volkswagen squad. Volkswagen squad now in a very bad position. Tries to retreat down to 1 man. Shots fly from all the tanks and down goes the Volkswagen squad. Oh no. Mr. Darker Days is collapsing under the pressure here. He's not able to keep his cool and is losing units left and right. 3rd Panther getting brought onto the field. Going to try and stop the approaching tanks, but it's just putting itself in range of those SU-76. SU-76 are veterancy 3, so they're going to be able to provide a lot of firepower and a lot of damage at range. And even with the tough armor of the Panther, with advantages to bounce several shots, it will take a lot of damage eventually. Other Panther on the left-hand side, going up against those penal battalions as well. So that's what, 4 or 5 Panthers in this game? I mean, it's fine, but just counting. Center map, Volkskrens trying to push forward. Don't clump them up too much. Spread them out so that they don't get barraged or shot by the Sherman, but still able to push forward. Combat Engineers and Penal Battalion engaging the Panther. NG heavy machine gun getting dropped on the world on the right-hand side. The Panther inflicting a lot of damage there on the Penal Battalion with its machine gun on top and the whole machine gun. But the squad at 3 men make it out of there alive. So yeah, I mean, RedxWings is managing to inflict a lot of casualties here on Darker Days, and Darker Days is not managing to inflict any casualties on RedxWings, pretty much. 75 points are left for Mr. RedxWings, however, and Darker Days does have one of the victory points. The center victory point will be getting captured by that heavy machine gun. But he currently has a double cap against him, so that's going to be a couple points there. They get bled a little bit quicker. And then the bleeding will still be going 1 point per tick in the favor of Mr. Darker Days. So, I mean, I think that's all he can do is just hold off for the victory points. And maybe he can. I mean, he's very close to that. Panther over on the right-hand side, going to be engaging 2 Shermans at the same time. The SU-76 also brought into the mix at range. This Panther is going to be going down. He's not going to be... Yeah. Takes a lot of damage, goes down, and the other Panther is barely moving its way in that direction. That is the problem with spreading out his tanks. 2 Panthers together are very difficult to deal with because of the amount of armor they have and the amount of damage they can dish out onto vehicles, especially weak things like SU-76s. But separated, I mean, they're just there for the picking. You don't want to separate in. Finally, one of the SU-76 does go down, losing that veterancy 3. The Shermans now get themselves behind the Panther. The Panther managing to thread the needle between those 2 Shermans. It gets itself with the frontal armor facing them. However, it does not continue to move, stays stationary, and gets itself killed by getting shot in the rear armor. Remember, the Panther's strength lies in its armor in the front that is very high and very difficult to penetrate. Don't just keep it still. Keep retreating. If you're not going to win the engagement, keep going back, but keep that forward facing towards your enemy. It will potentially keep your Panther alive and maybe win you engagements, but no. Unfortunately, their Darker Days chokes and stays put, and the Shermans are able to finish off that tank. Some plane exploded. Looks like it was the Fallschirmjäger attack thing. Fallschirmjäger squad does get eventually dropped into the center, however, so it manages to decap the center point. Victory points are down to 63 for Mr. RedxWings. But on the left-hand side, the MG-34 does get dropped as 3 penal battalions just incinerated in a matter of seconds. And again, Darker Days is cracking. He's falling. He's I don't know. He's weak at the knees. He's not managing to keep his composure, which is something that is difficult to do. I mean, in a long game, in a prolonged game, especially one where you are ahead, it is hard to keep your cool sometimes. The pressure gets to you and you start making stupid mistakes. And that happens to all of us, especially me. Especially me. If you want any proof, go check out Becoming a Hero. There's a whole series about me making stupid mistakes like that. There you go. Anyways, left-hand side, we have Storm Pios and Fallschirmjägers trying to push out the penal battalions on the left-hand side. Do manage to actually force 2 of them away, but we do have a MG-34 once again stolen by RedxWings, covering the victory point with the full approach. We also have on the far left-hand side another penal battalion that will inflict a lot of damage on those Fallschirmjägers. The Fallschirmjägers are catching it on the run and managing to inflict sufficient damage on it to bring it a little bit equalized, 2 and 4. It's pretty much even as far as firepower, but the Flames Thrower burst does go off, inflicting a lot of damage on the Storm Pio squad, and the Storm Pio squad will die. There it goes, catches flame at the last instance, and it gets lost. MG-34 trying to fight the other MG-34 does actually manage to get the suppression off on the MG-34, which makes it so that it is no longer effective as far as suppression goes. Fallschirmjäger squad called into the field on the left-hand side, manages to get the flank on the MG-34, decrews it, and the penal battalion behind it is down to 1 man. MG-34 getting barraged here by the Su-76, taking a lot of damage. Penal battalion going to be sacrificing itself to the cause, down to 1 man. Actually, can he make it out alive? The Fallschirmjägers are not veteran. They're getting a lot of damage in there, but no, the 1 man barely makes it out of there. RedxWings very lucky there. Should have actually lost that squad by all rights, and, you know, make this have been a little bit of a more equalized exchange. As it stands, well, RedxWings just won out there completely. Fallschirmjägers push forward. Yeah, they have the threat of that Faust, so the Su-76 just moves out of the way. The Shermans are covering the right-hand side. They're just making sure that that victory point does not fall to anybody. Raketen Warfare does get brought up, and it's currently in range of the Shermans, but does not have sight range to be able to shoot at them. But there's not much left for the forces of Darker Days, because, yeah. Fallschirmjägers retreating through the center. We even have a heavy machine gun across the field for RedxWings. It's going to be a pain in the ass, and with 61 points left for RedxWings, I think he's actually sealed the deal here. Really, the only potential chance that I would see logically the Darker Days could potentially have is if he were to have already built his what is it called? Battle group? No, the mechanized regiment. Yeah, this one, the mechanized regiment headquarters, and builds himself a the King Tiger. That to me would have been the only potential comeback, but unfortunately he hasn't actually built the mechanized regiment headquarters, and well, he no longer has the option. It is something to keep in mind that you should do. I mean, I say this to Darker Days, but other players, I mean, of lesser skill, I suppose, like me, like in the long run, even if it's not part of your build order, get that battle group, I mean, that mechanized regiment headquarters out, because it both allows you to go for that King Tiger eventually, instead of just doing Panthers, and it's a repair station, so you can use it to actually keep your Panthers alive a little bit more effectively, and not rely on Storm Pios exclusively. So anyways, right-hand side, we just see a big ol' mess here. It's just RedxWings breaking the lines here of Darker Days, removing his Raketen Warfare from the field. And Darker Days says, not sure what I did wrong. I mean, really what he did wrong is collapse under the pressure. I mean, he's made a lot of little stupid mistakes. I mean, like losing squats where he didn't need to, not retreating them. Yeah, you got a little careless with your Panthers. Yeah, that's too. I mean, The Panthers needed to be together so they could have potentially hunted down and do that. But yeah, I mean, like I said early in the this game, wow. So, oh, top 200. Okay. Well, I guess he deranked a little bit. It was too demoralized, demoralizing here, and he got deranked quite significantly. Uh, but yeah, I mean, he did pretty well, especially to be going up against you know, a player with a very high rank there. So I mean, like I said, it's 33 at the time of casting this. So I mean, top 100, top 50, top 40, and yeah, I mean, he has Darker Days has since I guess had a little bit of a bad streak and has dropped down to 567. But yeah, I mean, he was 200 I guess when he got to this one. So with the Yak Panzer out, he tries to push forward. I mean, the Yak Panzer is also a nice choice. It does have a lot of range, but by itself, it's not really going to stand a chance. We see 3 Shermans on the field here for RedxWings. They come in for the flank on the Yak Panzer. The Yak Panzer trying as much as it can, actually doing a supreme job at it. Almost takes out one of the Shermans, but now gets itself caught in the hedge, and it's now down. Even gets abandoned just to add insult to injury, and the Shermans eliminate the remaining forces here for Mr. Darker Days. And he throws in the GG. GG goes out. And that should be game. So very well played, I should say, for Darker Days. Of a very valiant effort. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game. If you have any positive or negative remarks, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you have any replays you want to send me, go ahead and send them to the email that I will put in the description. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.